The earliest New Testaments is the Codex Sinaiticus. This was in the city of Alexandria. It has an epistle of Barnabas. Today's New Testament leaves this epistle out. The Codex Sinaiticus epistle of Barnabas has Joshua as the coming Messiah. In a later Codex Claromontanus epistle of Barnabas, Joshua is replaced by Jesus Christ. Just some of the passages where Joshua is mentioned in the Sinaiticus is 1.1, 2.6, 4.8, 6.9, 7.7, 8.2. Then, there's mention of types of Joshua 7.10, 7.11, 12.5, in 12.9 says Joshua of Nun. In the Codex Claromontanus, 12.9 says Jesus of Nun. 7-5 of the Epistle of Barnabas reveals that the 12 followers of Joshua, Jesus of Nun, are the same as the 12 tribes of Israel, which, as we see from the Josephus and Philo, are a personification of the 12 zodiacal constellations. Hence, we've proved that Jesus Christ is a sun god. We see Jesus Christ referred to as Joshua of Nun in the New Testament as well. After receiving the tabernacle, our ancestors under Joshua brought it with them when they took the land from the nations God drove out before them. It remained in the land until the time of David, Acts chapter 7 verse 45, for if Joshua had given them rest, God would not have spoken later about another day. Hebrews chapter 4 verse 8. Barnabas derived Jesus from Gematria in his epistle 8:12, Mark, first the 18, and next the 300. For the numeral letters of 10 and 8 are IH and these denote Jesus. Philo of Alexander was probably the most significant figure to be deriving his sun god from Gematria and Midrash. He was probably the richest of the diasporan Jews. He practically controlled the spice trade from the Orient into the city of Alexandria. You'd be hard-pressed to find a richer, more powerful person during the supposed life of Jesus Christ than Philo of Alexandria. Philo of Alexandria mentions a Logos, but no Jesus Christ. One quote proves that they made up their religion. In every house there is a holy chamber called a sanctuary or monastery, where they celebrate in seclusion the mysteries of the sanctified life, bringing in nothing, drink, food, or anything else required for bodily needs, but laws and inspired oracles spoken by prophets, hymns, and everything else by which knowledge and true religion are increased and perfected. The whole period from dawn to dusk is given up to spiritual discipline. They read the sacred scriptures, and study their ancestral wisdom philosophically, allegorizing it, since they regard the literal sense as symbolic of a hidden reality revealed in figures. They possess also short works by early writers, the founders of their sect, who left many specimens of the allegorical method, which they take as their models, following the system on which their predecessors worked. Philo of Alexandria through Eusebius, History of the Church, pages 51-52. Eusebius, in his History of the Church, gives his evidence for Jesus Christ. He says Joshua of Nun was Jesus Christ in an evasive way. And, he gives the above Philo of Alexandria quote. He also gives the Josephus quote, which I'll discuss below. Eusebius' evidence for Jesus Christ is scriptural interpretation, allegorizing, or poetry. He was so rich, he paid Vespasian's way onto the imperial throne. Vespasian, and his son Titus, who sacked Jerusalem in 70 AD. Flavius Josephus claimed Vespasian as the coming Messiah. What did the most to induce the Jews to start this war, was an ambiguous oracle that was also found in their sacred writings, how, about that time, one from their country should become governor of the habitable earth. The Jews took this prediction to belong to themselves in particular, and many of the wise men were thereby deceived in their determination. Now this oracle certainly denoted the government of Vespasian, who was appointed emperor in Judea. Josephus, The Jewish War 6.5.4. Flavius Josephus, how does Josephus, a Jew, get an official Roman imperial title attached to the front of his name? By becoming a Roman government official, that's how. Flavius Josephus, according to his account, says he and some of his fellow Jewish soldiers drew straws to see who was going to cut the other's throats and then commit suicide himself. They were doing this to avoid being taken by the coming Roman phalanx. Josephus got the right straw, he slew all his comrades, and then surrendered to Titus. He essentially told Titus that he thought these Jews were trying to start a war with the Romans because of some prophecy. And, he thought they were crazy, so, he turned Roman. Flavius Josephus is both Jesus Christ believers and scholars who believe in a historical Jesus, and not the mythological one, favorite evidence for Jesus Christ. There's two passages mentioned in Antiquities of the Jews, which I'll get to in a moment. But I want to quote paragraph 1 of his Jewish War, which everyone misses. While some men who were not concerned in the affairs themselves have gotten together vain and contradictory stories by hearsay, and have written them down after a sophistical manner, and while those that were there present have given false accounts of things, and this either out of a humor of flattery to the Romans, or of hatred towards the Jews, another explicit statement that the Gospels are fictions is in Letter of Clement of Alexandria on Secret Mark. Now of the things they keep saying about the divinely inspired Gospel according to Mark, some are altogether falsifications, and others, even if they do contain some true elements, nevertheless are not reported truly. For the true things, being mixed with inventions, are falsified, so that, as the saying goes, even the salt loses its savor. Flavius Josephus says he wrote the Jewish War to make an historically accurate description of the sacking of Jerusalem in 70 AD. As he says, they made contradictory accounts of the sacking of Jerusalem in 70 AD. And anti-Jewish. And what do we find in the New Testament but anti-Jewish literature? Mark chapter 15 verses 6 to 15. Pilate says he'll give Jesus back to the Jews. But the Jews are made to say they'd prefer a criminal Barabbas. Mark chapter 15 verse 9, but Pilate answered them, saying, Will ye that I release unto you the King of the Jews? But the chief priests moved the people, that he should rather release Barabbas unto them. And Pilate answered and said again unto them, What will ye then that I shall do unto him whom ye call the King of the Jews? And they cried out again, Crucify him. Then Pilate said unto them, Why, what evil hath he done? And they cried out the more exceedingly, Crucify him. And so Pilate, willing to content the people, released Barabbas unto them, and delivered Jesus, when he had scourged him, to be crucified. All the Gospels have Pilate willing to give back Jesus, but the Jews are made to prefer a criminal instead. And, then they tell Pontius Pilate and the Romans to crucify Jesus Christ. In Matthew, it's 27 to 15-26. In Matthew chapter 27 verse 24, Pilate cleanses his hands of the blood of Jesus. When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water, and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just person. Then in Matthew chapter 27 verse 25, the Jews take the blame for the crucifying of Jesus, even after giving the Romans the right to do so. Then answered all the people, and said, His blood be on us, and on our children.